Call our regular scheduled city council meeting to order for October 16th. Can everyone rise for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We've already had this happen. I'll just mention it for the meeting. We've excused Deputy Mayor Peterson. She's out of town already. So we'll start with our council reports. Council member.
Me?
Yes.
All right, I have to apologize a little bit because I kind of forgot to fill all this out, but I'll do the best I can. Back on the 5th, I went to the Oyster Funk out at the Oyster Fest. It was a Friday before. It was very wet and cold, but it was fun. On the 10th, I had a meeting with Mike McCarty, along with Gary Krantz. On the 11th, we had like 3 events, which I think I'll let Eric share that, because he was at all 3 of them also. And I guess that kind of brings us up to today. So that'd be it.
Okay. Councilmember Nisco.
Hi, let's see, meeting was on the 2nd. So I met with Abe Gardner last Wednesday with the Mason County Health Department. I was also at the Oyster Fest YMCA booth this weekend. We had a special meeting on the 10th with the Housing Behavioral Health Board. And on the 11th, we had a dedication for Habitat. And then we went to the Railroad Tap Station ribbon cutting and the Shelton High School Health Science Academy kickoff. And we had a study session on the 12th. And that's it for last week.
Okay. Councilmember Krantz.
All right. Last week, I attended a couple of staff briefings. We did have a study session. I went to a groundbreaking for the Habitat for Humanity. Tomorrow, I will be going to my criminal justice board meeting. Today, I met with a local business owner, talking a little bit about some city policy. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. I attended some of the same functions as the gentleman ahead of me. I'll just mention Abe Gardner with the Mason County Health. Had a meeting with him. The week forward, I think some of us are attending a regional meeting with the Association of Washington Cities. We have a public records protocol meeting on Monday for the council, and I believe some staff. I think we still have a subcommittee meeting that Joe will cover with the veteran homes, and the YMCA kickoff is coming up on Tuesday, correct?
Tuesday.
23rd. So, Councilmember McDowell.
I just had a couple meetings with a few citizens this last week. Went to the Habitat groundbreaking, met with Abe Gardner, attended the Health Science Academy presentation at the high school, which was very, very interesting. Had a study session last Friday. Chamber lunch this Thursday. And next Monday, I will be attending the AWC regional meeting in Tumwater. Tuesday, the launch for the YMCA and a few other odds and ends meetings.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
In addition, thank you, Mayor. In addition to the city council meetings we had last week and the week prior, attended the EDC board meeting last Thursday, also our study session and the kickoff with the Shelton Schools Health Sciences program. Extremely proud of our Shelton schools and the things they've been able to accomplish in a short amount of time on top of the massive construction projects they're doing. Bringing the first accredited health sciences academy in the state of Washington here in Shelton. That's a pretty incredible feat, and I attribute that to the leadership there within the school district, and look forward to continuing to support that. Looking ahead, Friday, as Mayor Rogers brought up, tiny home subcommittee meeting, and in the afternoon I'll be meeting with the Olympia Master Builders to also talk about the same subject. And that is all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now's the time for general public comment. Everyone will have 3 minutes to comment on anything that's, except for the action agenda, which you can comment on separately later in the meeting. So Donna?
First, we have Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury.
Hi.
Sheriff?
Hey, thank you for having me this evening. What I'm here to do is read a letter of recognition or recognize somebody within the city agencies tonight, but my apologies that it's nearly 2 months old, because each time you guys have a meeting, I have had some other scheduled thing at the same time, so I was able to get this tonight. Before I read the letter of appreciation, I want you to understand why this is so important to us at the county, in particular our staff. All of you are aware, and Chief Moody spoke out his frustration, as I have, about our jail and the circumstances that are in there. But what a lot of people don't understand are the other things that are involved with just not enough beds. Recently, we've had 16 use of force situations. We've had 2 inmate on staff assaults resulting in our staff being severe injuries, 92 inmate disciplinary situations, 9 inmate suicide attempts, 78 mental health related situations and referrals out, 50 extraordinary medical events, and 251 law enforcement contacts a month that none of us combined police agencies are able to put in the jail because it's not large enough. That's the fact of the matter. The letter that I want to read to you, or the recognition I want to give in recognition of the circumstances and the stressful situations that go on in that jail, there's a lot going on. The staff that I have is at such minimum capacity that if one person is not able to make it there, if we were to lose one more after that, we have to shut the jail down. We can't keep it operating. We don't have enough people to do that. So this was the situation. On August 7th, one of our jail deputies was seriously assaulted by a jail inmate in the Mason County Jail. The deputy was sent to the hospital, or was going to be sent to the hospital by the jail nurse to be evaluated by the emergency room staff doctors for his injuries. The jail and operations deputies were significantly shorthanded again that evening. The on-duty supervisor was unable to have anyone be able to transport our jail deputy. Otherwise, we'd have to shut the jail. Corporal Calvin Moran, Shelton Police Department, was standing by and transported our jail deputy to Mason General Hospital. And Corporal Moran also was noted that he stayed with our jail deputy until it was determined that he was all right, and was able to transport him back to our office. This gesture, I guess, by the Shelton Police Department, Calvin Moran, it provides and shows a respectful and honorable duty to each of us within the law enforcement community. And actions like these are the kind of things that foster partnerships between agencies. When you're out there by yourself and you don't know if anybody's coming oftentimes in Mason County, because we just don't have enough of us, it's folks like Calvin Moran that show up and do those kind of things to help other people out. Now, I had to thank Calvin Moran, but Calvin Moran is not a great police officer because he's had thousands of hours of training and has dedicated his life to it. Calvin Moran is a great police officer because Calvin Moran is a great human being. And when you see him, I know that there's a lot of other things like this that go on, but this one I was particularly made aware of because our person was injured, horribly injured. Please thank Calvin Moran. And you are so fortunate to have, in the Shelton Police Department, there are others like him, but have Calvin Moran as an officer in your department. And I just want to say thank you from the Mason County Sheriff's Office and our staff in the jail, that guy cared enough to come down there and stand by with somebody and showed a caring characteristic that it makes it more confident when something happens to you that somebody's going to be there for you. And Corporal Calvin Moran was that person that night. So this is actually in a letter form to Chief Moody that he can put in Calvin's file. Chief, thank you so much. And I'll actually sign the bottom of this and give it. It's been riding around my car for 2 months, but I wanted to be the one to make this presentation. So, and actually, it's not for me. It's from all the staff in the jail. They were very thankful that Calvin was there. It means a lot to us. So, thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Thanks,
You bet.
Thank you, Sheriff. Okay. Next,
We have Mary Eaton.
Mary?
Mary?
You're up.
That's me. A couple weeks ago, I was reading the journal, and I was kind of surprised. And maybe we don't know all the details, but the city hired this organization to come in, and we presumed they were going to give us great ideas how we were going to expand. And I was really disappointed that this city paid big bucks for these guys that came in. And I don't know if anybody's here from them tonight, but I still say the same thing. When I read that they want the same thing we already have, more marijuana and oysters and mushrooms, and then they went on to insult us and say, our city wasn't that pretty and that we need to beautify our city more and get the homes better. And well, for an organization like that to come in and say something like that, when they should have looked at the cost of the water for people and what's going on and how much they can't afford to water their yards. The yards are getting green now because we had rain, but everybody's yard in this town was dead all summer long, except maybe a business that can afford it. I'm just wondering why, no offense, we have such smart people on the council. We have smart people in this town. Why we just didn't have more town hall meetings and get more ideas from the people we have here who are smart. You people we voted you in. And then we spend this money that the city really doesn't have to go out and bring people in who come up with the same thing we already have. I didn't hear anything about any big organization, Home Depot, Lowe's, anybody coming in. They just said we just need to do the same thing we already have. Well, we could have come up with that. I mean, you could have paid me. I could have come up with that. I don't understand why we did this in the city. And if it is something that you're going to keep doing, maybe we need to sit back and say, wait, let's have some more town hall meetings. Let's get ideas. Let's really put it out there to the people that we need ideas. We need people. Because you know what? Before we had all this technology, people really came up with ideas. People thought about things. People invented things. Why can't we take the people we have here and come up with the ideas for the city instead of the city spending so much money on something that I don't think we got our money's worth. And I think all of you even could have come up with better ideas than what I saw in the paper. So maybe, I don't know whether it didn't all get described in the paper, but I had a couple neighbors say the same thing. We discussed it. And nobody understands because there was no answer.
Okay.
We didn't get a definitive answer.
Thank you, Mary, very much for your comments.
Patricia Van de Hey.
Van de Hey, 111 Southeast Lupin Pace, Shelton. I wanted to comment on two things. I was wondering, why is it being proposed that we have another study of the C Street landfill? It's become, we have had so many of them, and nothing ever happens. They go in, they spend all this money, they do the testing, and then it drops. Nothing happens. We had one in 1987. It was really a good one, though. It was the final dioxin study report. And it did a very in-depth study of that and came up with great information and something that I thought was quite interesting was from the volume of sludge hauled to the municipal landfill prior to July 1979 is not known to us. From July of 1979 to November 1981, 4,528,700 gallons of sludge with 1 to 1.5 to 2% solids were disposed of in the general area. And a great deal of this had a lot of dioxin in it. A great deal of dioxin. Because Simpson plant, before they got the boilers that ran at a higher temperature, if you burned salt-laden logs at a lower temperature, it produced dioxin. And not just any, but the 2378 TCDD, which is the most toxic. They used that in Agent Orange during the Vietnam War. And nobody seems to be concerned about that. But again, we just keep having, in fact, the planning department should read these. I have copies of all of them if anybody's interested in reading them. But that one I thought was just really well done. It really went in depth and got the information. I don't know why. They think the other information is incorrect. It's not in depth enough. Maybe they don't like the answers that they're getting because it's showing how contaminated it is and trying not to have to pay so much to get it cleaned up. I don't know, but it seems very strange that we keep having these all the time. The other thing am I allowed to mention about the what we're getting from Yelm in Thurston County, the sludge?
Go ahead.
Isn't there anything else that we can bring in to make money other than that? Are we becoming a cesspool here? We've already taken in all the stuff from the state parks. Now they want to add this to it. And the statement is made, well, this treatment plan can handle it, but there's no information as how they're going to handle it.
Okay, Patricia, finish up, please.
Okay, it should not be done.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And the last one we have is Patricia Flores.
Okay, I've got two things. Don't smile, Joe. I'm retired from DOC. I worked in the prison for 21 years. I know Kevin. Let him in all the time. You guys are talking about building tiny homes. Check their DD 214s. Believe me, a lot of the inmates that are coming out of the prison who are veterans never served a day in their life. They do not verify the DD 214. When you are discharged from the military, everyone except World War II veterans has a DD 214. That proves that they served. You're supposed to take it home. You take it to the county register. My husband was in the Marine Corps for 20 years. All three of my sons were in the Marine Corps. All four of them's DD 214 is down with the county. If you're going to spend $100,000 on a house for a veteran, make sure he is a veteran. The second thing is this is a city of builders. We have wood, we have plumbers, we have everything. Why not get locally to build these houses? Kind of like Habitat for Humanity. Get a local plumber to do the plumbing. Get wood from our own mills. Build these houses, make them help. They'll help if they want to live there. But don't just pay money to someone to come in and put a little 8x10. I ran the quilt club at the prison, and we made quilts for the first one that opened up in Olympia. They tore that place up, and it was beautiful. The second thing is they want to put a rehab house in Springfield Park. Springfield Park is right on the edge of town, right on the city limits. A lot of times police officers will come in and go, no, you have to call the county. The county will come in and say, no, you have to call the city. So we bounce back and forth, but we are in city limits. There's a 6-bedroom house, they're small bedrooms, that the halfway house wants to purchase it and put 6 to 8 offenders in there. We're one way in. We have a big green belt in the back that we've had to clean up several times because there were mattresses that the prostitutes were using, and there were needles and a whole bunch of mess back there. The police have been very diligent in cleaning it up, for keeping it patrolled, but we've got kids everywhere, and they want to put alcoholics and possibly drug addicts that are rehabbing for 30 days. They've gone to rehab for 30 days, and now they're ready to be on their own without any counselors or anyone monitoring them day by day in the house. We have kids everywhere. Don't do this to us. Our kids are precious. Does someone's child have to be injured before we stop it? It's not the place for a rehab house, especially one that doesn't have counselors and monitoring of them daily. Is that it?
I think the Squaxin tribe, the one who's trying to
Oh,
buy
the
it.
Squaxins are paying the money for it. And then they're going to rent it to Oxford House. So our neighborhood is up in arms. But the other thing on those houses, check the DD 214s. You're going to find out that a lot of the veterans that come out of DOC are not veterans. I'm a veteran. No, I chased him for 20 years around bases. But I'm not a veteran. But I could pass. I could make any one of you believe that I was. So make sure that they really are, because you're going to find out that there's less of them than what you believe. That's it. Thank you.
Patricia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is that it? Okay, thank you, Donna. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are we ready for a reading of the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Donna, go ahead. Good.
Voucher number 18762 in the amount of $7,455.34. Vouchers numbered 18798 through 18891 in the amount of $1,148,950.05. Payroll warrants numbered 2432 through 2587 and 3808 through 3810 and 18773 through 18797 in the amount of $716,279.64.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Consent agenda is accepted. First business item is Public Works Director Gregory has information on some interlocal agreements with City of Yelm and Thurston County.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Just bringing forward a couple more customers to our biosolids program. The city of Yelm and Thurston County would like to enter into ILAs with the city of Shelton to further process digested sludge by the city of Shelton. I can certainly answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? That's the challenge. Any questions, comments for Craig?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilman.
what testing does the city do of any of the product once it was released to the spray field? And periodic testing in the spray field, does the city do that, or is it just within federal, state regulations?
You're talking from the satellite wastewater treatment plant?
Both. Sorry.
The main plant does not go to a spray field.
Right.
It discharges directly into the
Okay.
bay. The satellite wastewater treatment plant is tested for fecal counts
Okay.
before, and make sure that it is Class B reclaim that is then land applied out to the spray field that's adjacent to Department of Corrections.
Okay, and just for clarification, the main treatment plant, as you said, is discharged into the bay. Do we do any testing at the main treatment plant?
Yes, absolutely. All state required testing, and actually above and beyond what is required by state DOE.
And the sewer fund pays for that?
That's
For that
correct.
above and beyond?
That's correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you're familiar with the email that we received from the gentleman, John, that asked about the norovirus that cannot be filtered? It needs to be killed with the UV or bleach.
Absolutely.
And are we doing that?
UV treatment is absolutely right before the outfall, before it goes into what is the slack tide tanks. So the slack tide tanks are holding tanks so that if there is either a high slack or low slack, it holds that material until there is movement out in the bay. If it is a tide that's moving, it's discharged directly into, but there is certainly UV as the last form of treatment before it does go out to the bay.
Great. And what's one other question I had on this email? And there was reference to inconclusive testing for these norovirus, and are you familiar with that report?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Is that true?
Are you asking me if it's
Is it
inconclusive?
that-
The total report was inconclusive, correct. They did not find the absolute source.
Okay.
They were leaning in a certain direction of private septic systems, but that was technically classified as inconclusive.
And we're
But they
currently,
did not find anything out of the wastewater treatment plant
Okay.
that would affect or cause a neurovirus.
That was my question. Thank you.
currently we're receiving from state parks.
We
and-
have several customers.
Okay.
State Parks, Squaxin Island Tribe,
Okay.
the Alderbrook Septic System, Skoke Tribe.
Okay.
I'm missing one, Mr. Mayor. I
That-
know,
that's
I know
fine.
we have 5 at least, so yeah, I'm missing one that's escaping me at this point.
And I know this is, questions come up in the past as far as our citizens are heavily invested in that treatment plant. We're confident that we're not, this extra business is not adding additional costs beyond what we're recovering in the revenue, long-term or short-term.
We did a very extensive, I actually have the spreadsheets with me. We did a very extensive cost analysis back in 2015. That was done with Thomas Donnelly. So I am very confident out of the finance department that we looked at absolutely every cost, from employee costs to the bags to transport, the end product, to depreciation of equipment, power, all the utilities, power, gas, storage space, testing, permits, basically from the start to finish. We did a full cost analysis, and what this is really doing, it's recouping costs from something that you had additional space and capacity down at the wastewater treatment plant that we were getting nothing for. So something like storage, you've got the big main biosolids building. We did cost that out and add that into the overall cost to process outside sludge, that now somebody else is paying for that, a portion of the biosolids building. So something that we were paying fully for, somebody else now is incurring the cost to maintain and upkeep that storage space. So basically everything permits the same way. We have to fill out permits annually, whether we're processing somebody else's sludge or just our own. So somebody now is cost sharing with us by processing their sludge, by paying for a portion of what would have been our full burden for a permit. So things like that, certainly we are recouping costs on, and overall costs. We certainly looked at, I believe, everything and put some very good thought into depreciation of not only the dryer, but equipment over a 20-year lifespan. But yes, I am fairly confident we are recouping all costs, including a cost of living increase of 3% annually to the cost of digested sludge processing for every customer.
Okay. Other questions?
And just to clarify one thing that was just brought up, total capacity of the plant is not affected by digested sludge. It does not go through our tanks. It goes directly into the digester. So basically a tanker pulls in, it hooks up a discharge line directly, inflows into our digester where all of our digested sludge is held. Polymer is then added to that to thicken it. It's then pumped directly up to the centrifuge, which is basically a device that spins the water out of that. It's turned into 20% cake, which then is conveyored out to the biosolids dryer, and then is basically run through a very large oven, which turns it into Class A biosolids, which can be land applied, used as fertilizer, which is then given to community members and used on everything from farms to residential yards. So it does not affect our capacity whatsoever at the main plant.
Do we have an estimate on the revenue that all of these together now will create annually?
So I was going to give it under admin reports, but we can skip right to that now if you'd like. With just the customers that we have now, the 5 customers that we have through the end of the third quarter for 2018, total revenue at this point is $170,517.11. These 2 users, you'll see that they have a slightly different rate for the sludge that they are bringing. That is just economy of scale. They're bringing a much thicker product than what the other customers are bringing, which costs us less. It's less polymer to thicken it, take the water out of it. It's less processing through that. That's why there is a slightly less or lower cost. But this will, I believe, close to double the total amount of revenue that we have now. These are 2 very high users.
It'd be nice one day if we could use that to reduce our sewer rates or pay off that debt earlier.
Do you know, what are they currently doing? What are their alternatives? Yeoman?
They currently are taking, Thurston County they're both taking it to Lott at this point in Tacoma. Thurston County currently was working on a land application that was ended up being denied by Department of Ecology. So they are paying about the same as what we could offer, but the problem with Lott is it's not a consistent intake of digested sludge. They have certain parameters, so Thurston County and Yelm really were having a tough time with when their delivery dates and the consistency of when they could actually get sludge out to Lott. So they were looking for an alternative that was more consistent, that could be up and running and really take it at any time, and that is the city of Shelton. We can take right now, with the capacity that we have, we really can take it at any time as long as it's scheduled and we have staff available to intake that. But that's where they're both taking it now, and like I said, DOE just denied a land application for Thurston County, is what I'm aware of.
Okay. And one more question on water quality. There's been, the Department of Health, all their studies have been, especially the 17 outbreak, I think there's 1 outbreak prior to that, been inconclusive as far as what the source of the norovirus was. Is that correct?
That's correct. It certainly did not point back to the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
The outbreak in 14 was inconclusive also.
All right. Consensus, move it to action item for next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Next, back to Craig for an ordinance relating to right-of-way violations.
So this is just a house cleaning language that we wanted to add to more clearly reflect our fee schedule. The Shelton Municipal Code doesn't necessarily reflect what we ultimately have in our fee schedule at this point. So the bolded print that you see in the middle of the description is the only thing that has changed. There's been nothing taken away, but that sentence or portion of that sentence has been added that's in bold print. And it really just defines the fee schedule that was passed earlier in 2018.
Okay, thank you. Comments, questions?
And that's for violations of right-of-way permits. We have quite a few offenders out there that just think that they can do that. Actually, most of them think that the city right-of-way is their own property. that we have to educate them on, that they are working in city-owned right-of-way and ultimately need a right-of-way permit to tell us what they're doing. And a lot of that normally comes with either traffic control plans or pedestrian plans that your normal homeowner to your local contractors are just closing off sidewalks and rerouting traffic just on their own. So when we catch those, we want to be able to educate them and make sure that they come down and get a right-of-way permit and let us know what they're doing out there on the right-of-way.
Questions, comments for Craig? All right, I'll ask for the first reading of ordinance 1929-1018.
Ordinance number 1929-1018. An ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington, amending section 12.20.140 of Shelton Municipal Code, chapter 12.20, relating to right-of-way permit violations.
And we concur to move this to November 6th action?
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to change the action agenda. Staff has requested to pull item number 2, the marina parcels, for further work, and it will come back to us for consideration in the near future. Is there any council member objection to that move?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so on to action item regarding business licenses. Interim Finance Director Terry Schnitzer has information about that.
Hello.
Hi, Terry.
Thank you. So just coming back to you, follow-up from last week, requesting an increase for the business license application fee and the renewal fee to increase to $50 each year. So this is requesting now so that we can be in compliance with the state's 75-day deadline prior to it going into effect, which we are asking it to be as of January 1st of 2019. So I'm just asking for, if you approve, approve Mike McCarty to sign the form so I can submit it to the state tomorrow by
Okay,
their deadline.
thanks, Terry.
Mhm.
Public comment?
No.
No public comment? Okay, comment, questions from the council?
I wanted to say something about this. I know everyone here knows, I think, that I'm a businessman, Eric's a businessman, Gary is all over here. We're business-minded people, and we're pro-business in this town. We need it badly. But I just don't feel that raising this license fee from 35 to 50, that's a $15 raise per year, not per month. So it's about $1.25 a month, and I just don't feel that that's going to change anybody's mind about starting a business in Shelton. I just, it puts us more in the average of the cities comparable to us. So I just wanted to throw that in.
Thank you, council member.
Mr. Chair, comment?
Go ahead.
To follow up with what Councilmember Dorsey said, I seem to recall about a year ago when other fees were being adopted and changed with the previous commission, a local business leader stood up in front of the group and said, it's not necessarily about the cost and about the price, it's how well you do said action, right? So we're looking at this from a we had a good, healthy debate on this subject for quite a while, the past few months, but we're definitely looking at this from a way that the costs, the revenue generated from the increase isn't just going into some slush fund or pockets. The revenue generated from the increase is going to keep the general fund afloat and help us build and create those efficiencies necessary to continue to be business friendly in the city of Shelton. And I think that that's an important message for us to continue to communicate as we move forward with this process. So,
I agree.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions from the council? Okay, looking for a motion?
Is it an action item or is it still a
It's an
business?
action item, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to be because it's got to go in tomorrow.
It's a recommend, asking for council to give permission to Mike to sign the, let's see.
Do we need a motion to that effect or not? Okay.
Yeah, just make a motion in a
Okay,
second.
is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to allow, authorize city manager Mike McCarty to sign the business license service partner change request form to increase business license application fee and renewals to $50 per business license.
Second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
You can write it on a piece of paper.
Okay,
Know what
next
it is.
item is community development. Mark Ziegler has information about surplus real estate. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Bringing to you again today on the action agenda, the consideration of surplus of 120 West Nealon Street. This is a parcel that was obtained by the city of Shelton 2013 through tax foreclosure sale. The city staff has reviewed this property and deemed it not necessary for essential services. And so we would recommend that council take action tonight in declaring that surplus, and staff would move forward with an action to place this property for sale.
Thanks, Mark. Anyone signed up for public comment? All right. Council comments, questions?
Makes sense to me.
Okay. All right, so I'll ask for, Commissioner, Councilmember Dorsey, did you have something?
I just said I'm all for it.
Okay, all right. Can I ask for final reading of resolution 1137-0918?
Resolution number 1137-0918, a resolution of the City of Shelton, Washington, declaring certain real estate under city ownership surplus to the needs of the city.
Do I have a motion?
I move to adopt resolution number 1137-0918, declaring certain real estate under city ownership surplus to the needs of the city.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Back to Craig, information about the 2018 pump repairs contract.
So we've talked about this a few weeks back. The four pumps down at the Front Street lift station two have been replaced under emergency repair, and we are looking to replace or repair the other two, including a grit pump also located down at the headworks of the main wastewater treatment plant. Again, all three of these are covered under our insurance policy, so there will be, instead of the overall cost of $184,325, it will be a total deductible of $10,000 per pump, for a total of a $30,000 deductible, as we have had with the two emergency pump repairs that we had down at that same location. So we are just looking to move forward with that contract to get all three of those pumps rebuilt and back into place.
Okay, thank you. Public comment, Donna?
No public.
All right. Council comment, questions?
I can assure you, just from my experience working out at WCC, that very important to have backup pumps. Very important, because it can get ugly. Seen it.
We have been sweating it for a while.
Yeah.
We've taken one out of the Nealon pump station and moved it down to Front Street for a backup at this point. But moving into the wet weather, we certainly want to get on this sooner than later.
And if you have to go out in an emergency and buy a new pump, it's costly.
Full price, you're looking at about double that. It's about $160,000, and the lead time from what we saw from the last emergency pump repairs, we were looking at 4 to 6 months.
And then not only that, you have, something goes wrong with them in the middle of the night, you've got guys going in the middle of the night to fix it or
Absolutely.
babysit it or whatever needs to be done, so.
Absolutely.
Which is not a real cool thing to do.
No.
Okay, anything else? All right, do we have a motion?
I move to authorize the repairs of the two Front Street pumps and the grit pump by having the council sign the project award form and the pump repairs contract with Utility Service Company Incorporated.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on pump repairs. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
I just have one quick question for Craig. How long is that going to take for the repairs?
They're looking at about 16 weeks, 12 to 16 weeks. So it's still a fairly lengthy process. They do have the pumps now. They did an inspection on them, so they are there, ready to be repaired, but it's still a fairly lengthy process to get all of the parts to those.
Okay.
Okay, back to Director Gregory again for information about 4th Street vacation.
Thanks, Mayor. Council members, just wanted to open it up again for discussion and overall direction. We did provide you at the study session a list of what we have been doing previously with vacations of property and not necessarily having a clear-cut process and wanting to clarify that process. We will be bringing forward shortly an ordinance to adopt to have a formal process that doesn't have a lot of latitude to it, that will be a clear-cut process of how we deal with overall vacations in the future. So we are in the process, I will tell you, of drafting that in the last few days, and we will be bringing that forward shortly, likely in the next study session or the next business meeting that we do have.
Okay. Public comment, Donna?
No public.
No public comment. Questions and comment from council?
Mr. Mayor, question. Has there been previous commitments to the requester in this case that this be a free piece of property?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
We have had that conversation with several different then commissioners, now council members, and I think that has been relayed by the applicant, but that is absolutely false. We have never stated that this property had any value or it was going to be given away.
Okay.
And how many times have we charged anybody else for vacations?
We did hand you out.
I have it, I was asking.
Yeah, and those are placed out so the public can also see those. But it is, the history is on that sheet.
So the history is we've not charged anybody else because we don't have a great policy in place.
That's correct. Up to the last vacation that was requested by an applicant that wasn't a city-initiated ask. And like I had stated, I think in the study session, Railroad Avenue was really driven by the city, and it was just a realignment. We weren't going to go to the adjacent property owner and ask them to pay for something that we were requesting. And then the most recent one was a vacation of a street to better improve the hospitals project, which there was or will be compensation for that right away. But up to that point, you are correct, over the last close to decade, there has been no compensation for any of the right-of-ways.
I think, to be fair, it's time to put this to bed and move it forward, and I think I'm looking forward to seeing a policy.
As we are to give clear direction to
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah.
A comment?
Go ahead, Joe.
There's been no commitments made to anybody up until this point. It shouldn't be the goal of the council to continue to perpetuate the past without good reason and good intent. I do not believe that setting this precedent is in our best interest as a city and as a council. And I am not supportive of moving forward with vacation without compensation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, this, I'll just reiterate, this was applied for last mid-2017, I believe, or some.
September, I believe, is when it was actually applied for.
Right. So usually past history is what you assume is going to happen. So I'm also in favor of getting compensation where it's where we can identify a value And sometimes things are very difficult to value. And I think that's what we're going to struggle with the policy is someone's alley or street right away that really has no use, limited use except for the adjacent owners. How do you value that? So I think that's going to be a challenge moving forward. I agree with you, Joe, moving forward. I think it's just time to stop it at this point, and this was applied for during this default policy, although it was not a policy. And I think it's time to work on this and with no compensation, further compensation other than the application fee, which we have also raised. So that is one way to compensate for it. For a vacation, it's now $2,000, correct, instead of $600 at this time. So that's also additional compensation in the future. So,
Mr. Mayor, comment, if I may?
yes.
I would like to also go back to the fact that while it may be a challenge to value city property, keep in mind anytime the city relinquishes or surpluses any property, to include a defunct police car, where there is some sort of monetary value, it is taken out to auction, okay? This is something, again, I am uncomfortable setting a precedence that a land grab opportunity here. Remember that the original intent for the request of vacation was to install and build an RV carport. This is not a charitable contribution, and this isn't like we're doing something like building a YMCA that's going to have a long-term economic benefit to the city. We're basically giving away something that's been valued by an appraiser, a licensed appraiser, contracted by the city at $25,000. Again, I'm voicing my opinion that I'm uncomfortable moving forward without compensation.
Okay. And
I'll rest my
that's fine.
I would like to make one more comment too. Any of the fees, I know Mark and I worked very long and very hard on the fee schedule to make sure that we were trying to recover the city costs through that fee schedule. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's additional compensation. We looked at the overall process of a vacation and tried to really encompass all of the costs that go into a vacation, and that's where we did come up with the $2,000 number. So I wouldn't consider that compensation. That is really covering costs of getting through an actual vacation.
That's fair, Craig. Thank you. So, any other comments, questions?
Well, I'd like to add a few things that, again, as a business person, who wouldn't want free property, right? Sounds like a pretty good deal. But, I just feel this thing has gone on for how long, Craig? Like
Little
over a
better
year.
than a year, about
And
13 months.
You've got hours and hours of time in this thing. And I would be willing, a couple of weeks ago, I said something to the effect of, if it has no value, just not charge them anything. If half the property got a little value, charge them half. I think I said something like that. And now I'm leaning toward, let's just vacate it, get it over with, and then get some ordinance that makes this process so much simpler. And so we can, the council, not only our council, we're a young council. What about the council after us? So it's easier for them also to make these decisions. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Comments, questions? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move to vacate 4th Street right away between Grant Avenue. Do we have to read it first?
We need a
Yeah,
second.
reading.
Are you going to
Oh,
read this
go
one?
ahead. Oh, it's just
Read
one?
this one.
Oh, you can read it.
Oh, all right.
That's fine. I forgot.
Are we ready now, or do you need to read it?
I'm going to read the
Okay.
ordinance again. Ordinance number 1905-0917, an ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington, vacating a roadway.
Okay. Do we have a motion now? Thank you, Donna.
I move to adopt ordinance number 1905-0917, vacating the 4th Street right-of-way between Grant Avenue and Kineo, requiring no compensation for any abutting property owners following the law set forth by RCW 35.79.030 and past City of Shelton practices. I also move to direct staff to formalize the vacation process and establish a set procedure to present to council for adoption.
Mr. Mayor, I think we need to take one motion at a time, separate those motions.
Oh, separate them?
Yeah.
Okay.
So can you
One vote at a time.
Start over.
Start over?
just the motion? Reread the motion without the second part of it.
Okay. I move to adopt ordinance number 1905-0917, vacating the 4th Street right-of-way between Grant Avenue and Kineo, requiring no compensation from any abutting property owners following the laws set forth by RCW 35.79.030 and past City of Shelton practices.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion. All those in favor?
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yes, sir.
Is the intent of this council member to make a determination on this motion in a non-hastily manner? And we need to, as Director Gregory has pointed out, we are knocking on the door of being ready to pass forward an ordinance and official policy. I move to table this motion until a later date, until which the council has then approved the formal vacation procedure and adopted such ordinance.
The motion to vacate this specific parcel.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to table.
Okay.
Motion as read.
We have a motion to table.
Ask for a second. Is there a second?
Is there a second? Okay, motion to table. It's not. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're back to the original motion. And did we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes. Okay, and I think we'll just add the second as a charge to staff to work on a vacation policy.
And Mayor, if I could just add one thing to that, just for direction, that city staff is not to intake or process any additional vacations until we actually pass an ordinance clarifying what this process is.
Moratorium.
Would that be a moratorium? Would we make a motion for moratorium?
Well, there isn't a statutory time limit on actually passing ordinances to vacate property. There are time limits on setting the public hearing for the initial resolution. So you can certainly wait, hold off on passing any more ordinances just by your own rules until we have a chance to get a municipal code amendment in front of you.
Okay, so,
That work?
okay, that's the intent. All right, we good?
Yep.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Okay, we're on to the next business item. Getting back to Craig. Staff, are you good?
Yes.
Okay.
I just don't.
No.
I just am, I don't want to intake another application that we would fall under the old policy and have the requirement to do this again. So I just want to clarify that we are going to intake those and we are going to wait until we actually pass a policy.
I wouldn't take any of them. I wouldn't take any applications until we have the policy.
Yeah.
The applications don't vest to anything.
We understand that, neither did this one, but I just want to clarify.
But we have clear intent here that there will be a policy in place as quickly as possible.
Yes.
And that should be clearly stated to anyone who applies for a vacation.
Okay.
Do you believe that's adequate?
If that's the direction we're getting, yes.
Kathleen, is that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Craig, I actually just emailed you an example of a municipal code provision that you're welcome to just borrow. So it should be a relatively easy process of moving it forward.
Okay. Appreciate your question, though, Craig. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to the next action item, back to Craig regarding property on 204 Birch Street. Excuse me, I skipped one. I apologize.
Okay.
It's still to you, Craig, about
Thought you
Turner
were
Avenue
switching it up
property.
on me there for a
I'm sorry.
minute.
I apologize.
It's okay. Turner Street, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Final acceptance of the Turner Street project. This was a TIB grant award with a match of city funds. We have completed that and on time and under budget. So I would be happy to answer any questions on that. If not, we would like final acceptance of that project.
Okay. Any public comment?
No.
Okay. Comments, questions from council? Hearing none. Do we have a motion?
I move to accept Turner Avenue full depth reclamation project and authorize the mayor and council to sign for final acceptance form.
Second.
Okay. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, now on to property at 204 Birch Street.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Craig.
Mayor. As we've discussed a couple different times, including the last study session, the owner of the property at 204 West Birch has indicated the possibility of a sale of that property, which that property has a creek running directly through it and directly under the structure or the single-family residence that sits on top of it. The Stormwater Department wishes to purchase that property and enter into negotiations with that property owner to purchase that property as a stormwater asset, and then eventually tear the house down and open that up, that creek bed up into potential retention pond or widening of the creek bed.
Okay. Public comment? Tom?
No
All right.
public comment.
Council, questions, comments for Craig? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move to authorize the Public Works Director to enter into formal negotiations with the property owner of 204 West Birch Street to acquire the property as a storm department asset.
Second?
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Sorry, Craig, it's Chief Moody.
Happy to hand it over.
Chief Moody's here
He
to
might need a little breather or break there for a
Yes.
second.
talk to us about school resource officers.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. We've been talking about this for several months, entering into a formal contract with the schools regarding hiring school resource officers for us and providing to the schools. We currently have been working under just an agreement, a gentleman's agreement between Alex Apostle and myself. We are currently providing 2 school resource officers, one of which they pay half for, the other one they pay full for. This is the contract that moves forward with the next step of this, which will give the school district a total of 3 school resource officers and them paying for 2.5, which was the original agreement. The project, as it moves forward, will be, they'll probably get 2 within the next couple months full-time, and then the third coming later when somebody's released from training with the understanding that we need to get that third one on board. So this is just, again, reiteration of what we've been talking about for months, and request permission or request that the mayor sign the agreement signed by Alex Apostle.
Thank you, Chief. Any public comment? Okay, questions, comments from council? Nothing for Chief?
See how fast that was?
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the interlocal agreement between the Shelton School District and the City of Shelton for school resource officer services and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Second?
Those in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, next, guess it goes to Mike for action item on agreement for city prosecution services.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. As I stated at the staff report, prior to me coming on the scene in mid-September, the city received notice from Chris Coker of Young Glove and Coker LLC, who served as the city's prosecutor. And they gave us a letter saying their intent was to resign from that position effective October 31st. John Collins, Associate City Attorney, has been working with Zach Hofstede, who has subcontracted that prosecuting work with Young Glove and Coker since then. And Mr. Hofstad has agreed to continue serving as city prosecutor under the terms and conditions of the former agreement. John has worked with Zach to craft the agreement that you have in your packet, and I would recommend that the mayor be authorized to sign by motion the contract for prosecuting services with Hofstad Law.
No
Okay,
public
thanks,
comment.
Donna. Questions, comments from council? All right, hearing none, then is there a motion?
I move to authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the prosecution services with Hofstad Law Company.
I second that.
Okay. Those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, on to administration reports. Greg, you're up. You've given
I
part
think
of
we
it.
already answered. The council asked us to bring back a biosolids report on a quarterly basis back when we started intaking outside biosolids. We did already give you an update of total revenue through the end of the third quarter of just over $170,000 in total revenue.
Any questions for Craig? I have one question. The economic analysis you did, what, 15, is that what you said?
Late 2015.
2015. Is that out there on the city site, or could you provide that?
We can
At least-
certainly
At least to
provide-
me.
We can certainly provide that as a lot of calculations, a lot of Excel spreadsheets, so
Is it a PDF, or is it a bunch of files?
it is Excel spreadsheets.
Okay.
So, yeah, we can certainly provide those. They are on the W drive, but we can certainly provide those to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they're real large, I'll maybe just look at them when I'm in the city, but okay, we can talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, couple things. On Friday, you had a study session, which, thank you very much for that. I thought it went very, very well. You were all very engaged and open in your discussion in that session. But we talked about continuing with study sessions, and I believe we had consensus that you would have study sessions on the second and fourth Tuesdays on a regular basis. If a study session isn't necessary, it can be canceled at the prior study session or at the prior council meeting. But the one question that I have, and I don't recall if there was consensus on the time, if you would still do the study sessions at the same time as you do regular council meetings, or if you had other thoughts on that. So I just would like to have some direction before we set that.
I think that the same time would be the best for all of us, and especially Joe.
And Deidre.
Yeah.
Deidre.
Still work for you
6
for a
p.m.
good time?
Yeah, 6 p.m. is great.
6.
6 o'clock.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so we'll plan on starting those study sessions next Tuesday, this being the third Tuesday, unless you want to wait until November. So I guess that's another
Why,
question.
should we?
Oh, yeah.
That
would be a
the
bad day.
23rd would be the Y kickoff. I think a lot of the council members are going, so maybe we could
Yeah,
Yeah.
that wouldn't.
skip that week.
Okay.
Late.
Start November,
Yeah, okay.
recommend.
Update on the budget schedule. Donna, did you pass those out? Great. There are a number of key dates coming up over the next month and a half relative to the budget development and the budget hearings for the 2019 budget. And so before you is a budget schedule, and I just want to go through this list. I don't want to be too tedious, but it's important that, we keep this budget schedule in mind as we roll forward to make sure that we meet the statutory timelines as is outlined in state law. So the first thing coming up is on November 1st, we will publish a notice of hearing on the property tax resolution, property tax ordinance, and revenue source hearing. And that'll go to the Journal in time to meet their publishing deadline. Also on November 1st, we'll publish a notice of the preliminary budget hearing, also published in the Journal the week prior. On November the 2nd, The preliminary budget will be filed with the city clerk and the council.
Can I just clarify, the property tax ordinance, that's basically the 1%?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
On November 6th, then, you'll hold a public hearing on the property tax ordinance and revenue sources, as well as conduct the public hearing on the preliminary 2019 budget. The property tax ordinance will be scheduled for first reading at that time as well, the 6th of November. On November 8th, we'll publish the first notice of the final budget hearing. November the 13th, there will be a council study session. That evening will be on the budget. There may be some other agenda items, but it will be predominantly on the budget study session. On the 15th of November, we'll publish the second notice of final budget hearing. On November the 19th, we're required to have copies of the preliminary budget available to the public. On November the 20th will be the final budget hearing and the second reading of the property tax ordinance. So this ordinance, should you adopt it, has to be filed by the end of November with the county in order for that to take effect the first of the year. I'm going to suggest that the final budget hearing may be a short hearing, but then you will continue that final budget hearing to December the 4th. So we can take into account any potential changes between those two dates. On the 27th, we'll have another study session, at which time the budget will be considered. And on December 4th, the continuation of the final budget hearing and possible budget adoption. You're not required to adopt it on December 4th, but you are required to adopt it before the end of the year. So that's the budget schedule. We're still working fast and furious on budget. And kind of related to budget, right, what I'm going to talk about doesn't seem like it is, but I don't know if you're aware that the city has a wellness committee. And so the wellness committee does a number of activities that are related to the earning of the Association of Washington Cities Well City Award. And there are points given for a variety of activities that the Wellness Committee does. And you get points for your participation as well. And the reason why this is important, because if we earn 25% of the maximum points that are available to be earned, the city then earns 2%, a 2% discount on our medical rates. And that's approximately $20,000. So if we don't earn it, we've just left $20,000 on the table. So as an incentive to your participation, I encourage you to be attuned to the activities of the Wellness Committee. I know they're planning a chili cook-off, a team-building chili cook-off on November the 1st. The higher the spice, the better.
I also heard that Craig was sponsoring a fun run, something like that, right? You weren't doing that, all the public works guys?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If you're directing, yes.
Yeah. I'll make sure the committee knows that. Yeah.
Might,
So
might better
bring
fit
it up
Darren
because-
and his guys.
You know, the AWC Wellness Program is well-regarded throughout the country. It's one of the best there is. It's well thought out. It's a good program. And the opportunity to earn that 2% discount off of medical rates is a great incentive for people to participate. So, I mean, and it's a good thing to participate in anyway.
Mike, what's the ask here? Are you asking for representation or? Is it-
No, I'm not asking for any specific representation, just so that you know that it all helps. You know, the participation by the council members, participation by management staff in the wellness activities that's critical to gaining enough points as we go throughout the year to get the 2% discount. I'll be very disappointed if we don't get that discount.
Is there a list of things
Yeah,
that
good question.
are on that to do,
Yes and no.
besides
And-
the chili cook-off?
Yeah, so I don't have a specific list of things that the Wellness Committee's
Okay.
doing at this point, but there are standards in 9 different categories, and I don't have the specifics of what those, what's underlying those categories, but the categories are policies and procedures, management support, wellness committee activities, wellness networking and resources, a wellness needs assessment, the worksite environment, an operating plan, activities and interventions, and wellness evaluation. So those are the 9 categories that they have, and there's activities within each of those.
Okay.
that we can gain points.
The Wellness Committee has that.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and Jordan is managing the city wellness.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. That's all I have tonight.
Okay, and one question is kind of back to budget. Can you or Terry give the council an update on the indirect cost model, where we're at on that?
Terry,
Just
where
quick,
are we
just
on the?
a high level where we're at.
Sandy is still submitting, or she's been communicating with FCS Group. So I believe they have most of the information from us. They may still need a little bit, maybe on some clarification on employees, and allocation for that. So, but that was the last I heard from Sandy in regards to that, which she was just yesterday. So.
The 19 budget will be based on the new model, correct?
Right. And we have another meeting tomorrow.
Okay,
So I'll ask her again specifically if she's been able to touch base.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we finished our agenda, so we are adjourned.